back to the Irish Mags Show, your weekly Newcastle. Hold on a second, lads.
What's wrong?
Why aren't we wearing our Irish Mags gear? We've had to interrupt at a very early stage. What's happening?
Oh my god! Oh, I'm wearing a cardigan.
Alan?
I suppose we'll just make the announcement now, will we?
Live reveal. Not only are Newcastle United dropping their new kits this week, but the Irish Mags are dropping our new jersey. We're stripping live on the pod. If you're not watching on YouTube, you are very lucky.
You're missing out. That's what you're doing. Look at that. Oh, baby.
Oh, yes. Look at that.
The full Monty live on pod.
Just a peek behind the curtain. I left Alan and Chris show on this call before we pressed record for 5 minutes, and when I came back, they decided that we were going to be stripping on this week's podcast. So, yeah, from now on, I'll never leave you alone again, lads, because that's the best you come up with.
I wouldn't.
They look good though, lads. Shall we stand up? Just get on the screen.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
It's amazing.
And yes, we have to
Cambridge. Yes. Oh, there's an and.
Yes, as Alan is currently displaying on screen, the back of the kit has Irish Mags NUFC written where your name would be. It actually looks pretty class. Alan, was this your idea? I didn't know this was going to be on when I ordered it.
It was my idea.
It's great.
Chris Show, we know that it was Emma's idea. All of Alan's good ideas are Emma's ideas.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. We learned that long ago.
Hell yeah.
Let's go back to the top of the show again. Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show, your weekly Newcastle United podcast, brought to you by the Irish Mags NUFC supporters group. My name is Paul. I'll be your host for today, wearing clothes. And joining me are the Irish Mags equivalent of Hosselu and Iose Perez. It's, of course, Alan and Chris Show. Welcome in, lads.
Welcome.
That's a good strike partnership. Two Spain strikers now. That's not bad. I'll take that one.
That's not handy.
I'm not going to lie, lads. There's a bit of hidden meaning behind this one. So the reason I'm calling you Hosselu and Iose Perez is I just have this feeling that, wherever you end up, long when this Irish Mags Show is done and dusted, I assume you'll be much better at your jobs than you are now. That's kind of where I'm going with it,
That's it.
Don't mind that.
But we'll both be in Spain doing something.
Yeah,
take that.
That's not a bad way to. That's not a bad way to go. In fairness, it is a bit mad seeing what Hosselu is doing at Real Madrid. Mikel Merino is apparently going to Barcelona. Iose Perez is scoring goals for Spain. What the hell is happening? Like, is John Joe Shelby going to be called up when the next England player gets injured? What's happening in the world? Like?
Oh, God only knows. James Perch is the next one to get called into that England squad. That's what we need. That's all we need.
Yeah, Perchinho. That's it.
Perchinho.
Well, I'm telling you, I said it from the start. I know we didn't have a podcast back then, but Hosselu was, he was a chef's kiss. He had everything: speed, composure, clinical finishing. It's just that we didn't have a team to kind of feed him what he needed. Now, that might be a bad take of the last decade.
Yeah, it's early for the bad take.
Dreadful take is what that is.
He was dreadful.
Let's just say, as a wine enthusiast, Chris Show, let's just say he's aging like a fine wine. How's that? Fair play to Hosselu.
That's been left open.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And by the way, welcome back, Chris Show, as well. We missed you last week. We, of course, had a special guest on last week. That was Billy Costine, former Newcastle scout in Ireland. If anyone missed that show, have a look back on the YouTubes and the Spotify and Apple, because really, really good stories. Some nice little anecdotes about some encounters with Jackie Milburn, Alan Shearer. I think he had a really good story about Ruud Hullet. So definitely well worth a listen back on that one. It was a great show to have Billy on. And of course, we're now stuck with Chris Show this week again, Alan.
Last week I got a text message on the Monday night. Like I did. Almira's wife won't leave me alone. I don't even speak Spanish. Yeah, and Jeff gave me a shout and said, "Would I like to pop out and have a barbecue?" And I thought, you know what, Jeff, I will. And we're very close anyway. But I mean, this just brought it to a new level of like proper buds. I met his mum. Had a good crack, and he drinks milk. He doesn't drink alcohol. He drinks milk.
Chris, I'd hate to ever have to like interrogate you for information, because the amount of bullshit you can spout in one single.
I will get photos put up on this podcast of me and Jeff having a barbecue. That was great.
I will believe it when I see it, as they say.
Right. Okay.
Fair play to you.
Thanks a lot.
The next photo you'd see of Chris Show is having a barbecue in Dan Ashworth's garden while he's on his leave. So that's the next thing we expect to see. Right, moving very swiftly on this week's show, we're going to do a quick check-in on some of the latest Newcastle United news and transfer rumours. A lot has happened in the last 7 days, lads. We've got plenty to talk about. Mm-hmm. We will check in and see if Chris Show has any more bad takes than he's already given us so far in the show. And for our spotlight, because of the time of the year that's in it, we're going to take a little look at Newcastle United and their influence and impact on the European Championships down through the years, or sometimes lack thereof, particularly focus on players who've travelled to the Euros representing their respective nations. And of course, we'll have a chat about some of our lads who are in Germany now as we speak, with the Euros kicking off in 3 days' time? It's going to be a good few weeks of football. It's been missed. It's been missed. And I'm sure the Bleaker will be a good place to be for some of those games as well, and everywhere else around the country. Before we go into that, lads, we mentioned the Irish Mags kit launch, but I think we should talk about the Newcastle United kit launch, which has had a lot of reaction, a lot of positive reaction. Obviously, having Adidas back, we mentioned it a few weeks ago, a welcome return and a fond farewell to Castor, said no one ever. What are we saying about the new kits, lads? Let's get the first reaction about the kit itself and the design. Alan, we know you're a kit man. In fact, I think 80% of your house and wardrobe is just Newcastle United clothing, as we've discussed.
I'll be very honest with you. I didn't mind any of the Castor gear. I thought it was all, now look, quality wise, it wasn't great, but the actual designs of the Castor gear, bar the 4 jersey, that wasn't the button up that had the 4 on it. That was the only one that really wasn't great, but I haven't had my kit arrive yet, although I did get an email today that said it was on the way, so hopefully tomorrow it'll arrive at my door. But absolutely love the design. People giving out there's not enough stripes on it. It's a throwback to that old NTL kit that we wore back in the day, and I absolutely love that because that was one of my childhood kits. So 10 out of 10 for me, to be honest with you.
Alan is happy. Chris Show?
Yeah, I agree. It's beautiful. Yeah, I'm an Adidas guy through and through ever since I was a kid, so anything that they do usually is top notch, and this didn't disappoint. I was chuffed with it. I couldn't wait to get it. I was like, click. It's just a pity that we have to wait till July to get the away kit, because I think we all know what it's going to be. It's going to be the 1996 away kit. But and then I also got the coach's polo shirt.
Nice.
You know, with the white with the black stripes at the side. That's beautiful. So delighted. Can't wait to spend.
It is snazzy kit. I've not ordered anything because I'm going to be in the UK in about 2 weeks' time. So I'm hoping where I'm going, I'm pretty sure there's an Adidas shop and a JD Sports. So I think between the two of them, I might be covered. But I'll probably be coming back fairly empty walleted, I would imagine. And that's before I even have a pint, which is also part of the plan. But they are nice kits, definitely nice kits. I wasn't sure. I haven't seen it in the flesh yet, and I'm trying to get my head around the collar, as in like. It's not a V. It's not round. You know, there's no actual collar. It seems a little bit kind of unique. And part of me is like, it's going to be very loose or wide, but it actually looks quite snazzy on when you see it, obviously being worn. Yeah. So that was the only kind of question mark I had. But other than that, yeah, Adidas, check. Stripes, check. Love it. Happy days.
I mean, the only thing people were complaining about, just real quick, is that the back of it just had completely blank white.
Yes.
And, you know, you definitely need to put something on that. It would look a little bit silly, to be honest, if you wore it out, just with completely white at the back. So it begs for you to put something on it, really. But I was always going to put something on it anyway. I think, Al, did you get something? Did you get the classic Williamson number 9?
Every single jersey I've ever owned by Newcastle United has either had Allen 9 on the back of it when I was too small to get Williamson number 9 on the back of it, and then as soon as I was big enough to get that on, it was Williamson number 9. So yeah, Williamson number 9. Once
he started pumping the iron, Chris Show, and got those shoulders broad enough to fit on the letters.
Iron Mike, Iron Al.
Yeah.
I got Tonali. Paul, would you be thinking of getting somebody on the back of your jersey?
Yeah, I did spot that it was all white in the back, and it kind of is set up to have a name on the back. I'll hold off to wait and see. I'd find it hard not to get Isak on it. I'm just such an Isak fan at the moment.
Don't
and it's cheaper. It's only 4 letters. No? Isak's only 4 letters, and I'm notoriously.
You just pay for the personalization, so you can get as many as you want on it.
Excellent. Okay,
yes.
That's made me think of a whole different. I'm gonna have to start pumping iron now to broaden my shoulders and get a few more letters on. No, I probably will. I'll have to have a think about it, but I don't think I'll be getting Jeff Hendrick on it anyway. Just to throw it out there, Christian. No. Sorry to break it to you.
Okay, no problem.
No more Jeff Hendrick talk.
No.
The other thing that went down really well, lads, and it's not often you kind of watch a video on Twitter from a football club account that gives you goosebumps and shivers. The launch video, the song, the clips, the Shearer quotes. That is marketing genius. Like literally every fan on Twitter. Like I never saw Twitter go so mad over what was it? Not even a minute long video. Maybe it was insane. Very well produced. Like top work. Absolutely.
That version of the Bladen races, like the shiver down your spine as it just kicks in. Every single bit of that video was 11 out of 10. Whoever was behind that, they won.
Genius.
Like that's it. They won, and that's the end of it. Like they were.
Give that person a raise.
Yes.
Somebody said that on Twitter. Someone said like at Adidas UK, whoever made this video, give them a raise or a new job or promotion. And Adidas was like, noted, because like the exact thing with the dogs. Sholami will be on a bike eating an apple. I mean, it just made me smile all the way through. You're watching.
Ketspaya even got a little bit in there as well, I think, didn't he?
And Gary Speed. Gary Speed went in as well. Which was a real nice touch. Like, beautiful.
Oh, it was glorious now.
Unreal.
The only thing that could have topped it, lads, is if they used our Irish Mags show theme tune. But that would have had a lot more of a high tempo video. You would have had to have Isaac like belting down the road chasing the dog, and then like Amiobi in the Tour de France or something. But it was very well made. And just on the slightly probably more downside or the negative note, from an Irish Mags perspective, and we just had a quick chat about this before we hit record, there was a bit of discourse about the pricing on the website, and even I myself reacted quite negatively to this. So it was it's retailing in the UK. Was it £80 for
£80.
For the whatever you call it, not the player jersey, let's say
a fan jersey.
Yeah, and that would probably kind of convert to about 95-ish pound, euros. Yeah. But we saw when you were obviously shopping from Ireland, it gives you the price in euros, and it was coming in at 115. Now, Krisho, you apparently have done some research on this to say that there is some legit reasons for it. Care to divulge?
There is. Okay, so essentially luxury. This is a luxury item, and it's a sporting goods, so it's a luxury brand, and it's coming in from the UK. And because of Brexit, not law for us in Ireland, especially with Amazon stuff and other things that we get from England, some companies pay the import duty and put it on top of the price so that you don't have to when it comes into the country. If they didn't do that, you would get a note from On Post saying that you need to come and pay import duty to receive your package. Some companies do it, some don't. Adidas added on top. They don't do it on their European Adidas.com shop because they don't have to, because essentially they have shops and retail centres here. But this is coming from an English football club into Ireland, and so there's €15.99 on each top.
With a little bit of rounding up, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. So that's the import duty and VAT essentially added because of Brexit. Without Brexit, and if they were still part of the European single market, that wouldn't have been on it. It would have been €95. Now, people are saying, hang on, but the Arsenal Liverpool top is €95. Yeah, but when you get it sent to you, you've got to pay the €15 import duty.
Or some of those kits could be stored in Ireland, for example.
Or they could be in Ireland, yeah.
That is because my brother got the Arsenal kit and it was 95 quid. It was 113 or something with a name on the back of it, whatever it was. Yeah.
Right.
But the other thing is, Arsenal, their free shipping point on the club site is €100. Liverpool is €100. Manchester United is €110. Newcastle United is €210, which I just thought was a little bit of a kick in the teeth. It is, yeah. I bought a hat and the jersey. It was €185, and then I'm having to pay €7 for delivery, and I'm kind of going, that's a bit much, lads, to be asking me to pay for shipping on that. Like, I know when we buy our Irish Mags gear, once we spend over €70 or €50, I think it is, it's free delivery. Like, it just doesn't make any sense for a massive company like that to be stinging us with the shipping fees, really. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine there'll be some learnings taken from it, or maybe things might change. But at the same time, the only positive to take from it is PSR. All of this is going somewhere. We shouldn't have to think like that, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah, some of it's gone to Newcastle Foundation, and just so everybody that's listening knows, Jamie and the guys have contacted the club. They're asking about it. They're hoping to get a word back, and I'm sure we will. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was an error. Who knows? We might get reimbursed, but Or maybe they give us a coupon, all right, for the next time we go.
Yeah, 2 hopes of that, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Time will tell. But yeah, as we said, Jamie, who's one of the committee members and founders of the Irish Mags, has obviously reached out to the club and is going to share updates. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, lads, another interesting thing that happened on the Newcastle side of the world. And Krisha, you might have missed this in amongst your barbecues with Miguel Almiron and whatever else, your lawn parties with Jeff Hendrick and Dan Ashworth. But Sella, our sponsor Sella, have once again pulled a lot of hats out of the bag and put on a big old projector show down the quayside in Newcastle, up on the Baltic building, which is obviously across the river. Like, I tried to think of other clubs doing this kind of stuff, and nothing comes to mind. Obviously, we wouldn't have been there. Now we're all on this side over in Ireland, but I watched it on one of the video kind of YouTube live feeds that was there. It must have been unreal to be there. The atmosphere sounded unreal, and again, you had those heartwarming moments, lads, when Bobby Robson's kind of speech is coming on there. It's like everything you want and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like it had the range of emotions. You were jumping up and down, looking at it. You were screaming and shouting. You had the lump in your throat. You'd just done everything for you. It was absolutely unbelievable.
There was 10,000 people there, I believe.
Jeez.
Like for 10 minutes, I think it were 8 to 9 minutes of a show. But and then the fact that they put up the BMX for sale. Sign, and you rang the number and told you about what was happening. That is just, everyone's working at top-notch levels here in terms of marketing and pulling the fans together. Just, that's where we're really seeing the quality now of the appointments that they've made in the last 12 months. There's really some talented people working here. So.
Definitely, yeah. And it's the good thing about it is, like, they're doing it locally, obviously in Newcastle, but it's being broadcast to the whole world, right? And that's part of the strategic plan, is to get more eyes on the club and see what the club's all about. Alan, as a man that's getting married in the next kind of few months or in the next year or so, I think you need to put in a request to play that video at the wedding in the reception. Just have Bobby's voice coming in. She's tolerated everything else this far.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent stuff. Okay, keep us posted. Now, moving swiftly on, it's already happening, lads. As we sit here recording, 11th of June, the transfer rumour mill is in full flow. And in fact, it actually looks like it hasn't happened today. I thought it might have by the time we sat down. But it looks like the Lloyd Kelly deal is already over the line. And the reason I say that with extreme confidence is not because Fabrizio Romano has said it. And sorry, Sean, it's not because you have said it, but because David Ornstein of The Athletic has said it. And for those of you that don't know, if you're not following David Ornstein on Twitter, you really should be, because he, in terms of credibility, he does not tweet out info or ITK stuff unless he's absolutely certain, or if he has it on extremely good authority. And I've been following that guy for years. He's never been wrong. So as far as I'm concerned, once Ornstein says it is done. So what are we thinking about Lloyd Kelly to start off with, Krisho? We were talking about it kind of a couple of weeks ago, but to have him in over the line, a free transfer, it's a good deal.
Yeah,
much risk.
Eddie's worked with him before. He knows his character. He knows what kind of guy he is. He knows he's coachable in what Eddie wants to do. I've gone back and watched a couple of videos because I didn't really see much of him. Let's be honest. I'll be honest with you, I didn't. And then I watched a couple of clips and I thought, oh, he's pretty handy, this fella, isn't he? He's strong. He's kind of like a young Vincent Kompany. I know that's a bit much to say that, but he has the certain kind of, he stands up straight. He's composed. He seems to be able to pass well. He's tough as nails, this fella. He doesn't look it, but he is. And I saw him dispossess a couple of really tricky quality footballers last year. So he's got pace and he's got strength. So he seems to suit us perfectly. Great. Yeah, and for free.
And Alan, he's been very good in Football Manager down through the years as well. But we won't put all our judgment on Football Manager. He is obviously a quality player. I've seen him play for Bournemouth, obviously. Former England under-21 international. There's a small question mark, though, Al, about his fitness and his injury record. And we actually tweeted this out from the Irish Mags account today. I can't remember the exact number, but it's something like in the last 2 seasons he's missed 34 games or something.
In the
like
last
that.
5 seasons he's missed 81 is what I can remember from seeing online. Yeah.
Jesus.
Now, but right now, hang on. He was expected to play week in, week out as the starting centre half or left back for Bournemouth. He's not going to be expected to play at that level for us. Everyone's saying he's a Paul Dummett replacement. He's not. Hear me out.
He's an
Hear me
upgrade.
out. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Dan Byrne is the Paul Dummett replacement. Lloyd Kelly floats in where Dan Byrne was in the pecking order, in my opinion, leaving room for another centre half to come in so that we're not well stacked, but that we have options there. That if God forbid we're down to having to play Kraft and not Dummett again, it'll be Kraft and Kelly next season, or another and Kelly. It's not too bad, if you know what I mean. So it's a good move for the club.
Okay,
Yeah, it is. And obviously, look, free transfer is good for us on paper, PSR. Apparently, a good few other clubs were circling, but we seem to be the leading name for the last couple of weeks, if not months. Eddie Howe's probably had a major say in this as well because he knows the player, as we said. So I'm fully on board with it. We need cover, we need backup, and to get him in on a free transfer. Premier League proven. If the fitness issue isn't an issue, there's nothing wrong with this signing at all.
Absolutely.
Now, another heavily rumoured signing that's apparently very close to being over the line, lads, and maybe isn't getting as much, let's say, smiles and agreement from the Newcastle fan base as Lloyd Kelly, is the apparent signing of James Trafford. The stories are that we've agreed personal terms, even though a fee hasn't been agreed. That used to be a thing, by the way. It used to be always fee agreed, then talk to the player. Apparently that's gone out the window. Agent power, player power, whatever you want to call it. We said it for weeks. There was a lot of talk around Mamardashvili, the Georgian goalkeeper. Apparently the price is too high. And if he has a good Euros, maybe he'll go even higher. So it feels like we're, I suppose, putting the eggs in the James Trafford basket for what seems to be a lower fee. Perhaps there's a relegation release clause from Burnley or something. But there seems to be a lot of question marks, Alan, over is James Trafford actually good enough to play for Newcastle based on the season he had at Burnley?
Based off the season he had at Burnley, look at the defence he had in front of him while playing for Burnley. Like, that's you could argue the same. We signed Pope from Burnley when they were relegated, and everyone was going, he's not that much better than Dubravka. And now everyone's going, I shouldn't talk about football ever again. But Newcastle fans tend to do this. When we signed Gordon, he was a scout rat. When we signed Pope, he was relegated with Burnley. Like, we always seem to find something wrong with something. Give the lad a chance. If he comes, and like, when we were signing him, or if we sign him and all that jazz, the video from when he saved the penalty in the under-21s Euros final, where Cole Palmer turns around and he's like, "You have no idea how good this kid is. He's the best keeper I've ever seen in my life." James Trafford was playing, Palmer and Trafford were playing for City, and Palmer was like, "This is the best keeper you've ever seen," and you're going, there has to be something about him. Look, bit of confidence. He's only a kid. He's 21 or 22 years of age. He is a child at the end of the day. So he has a long, long time ahead of him. He's going to come in as number 2. Pope is going to teach him what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. He's going to learn the ropes. And not this season, but the following season, he will be our number 1 when Pope is eventually moved on, because he'd be nearly 35 at that stage. So it'll be a good signing in the long term.
Yeah, and it's an interesting timing-wise, Krisho, because there's all this talk about the PSR. Obviously, the financial period ends at the end of June. So, as I said, now we're 2 weeks away from the end of June. So, there's a heavy contingent that say we need to sell somebody before the end of June. But yet we're going and spending a rumoured 16 million between now and the end of June, if it happens between now and the end of June. Do you think we just have money to spare in this financial period all of a sudden?
I think we have some money. I think we have some money. I don't know. Look what they were holding out is the £20 million, but they can pay the 16 million, and then there'll be another 4 in whatever kind of clauses are in there. But that doesn't necessarily mean. I think what I read anyway, and I think you guys probably read as well, is that what they're finally agreeing on now is the payment structure. So it's not as if they're going to give them the 16 million. They might give them 4 million now, then 4 million in January, installments. So that's maybe how we're able to afford it. I think it's very important, I think, for Eddie Howe to get the goalkeeper in, because like Karius is going to be gone. I frankly think Dubravka is going to be gone on the 30th of June or 1st of July. So that's 2 goalkeepers out. They're keeping Gillespie. Pope's not going anywhere, and bring Trafford in. So, get him a good pre-season in. He didn't concede any goals when they won the Euros.
He was very good.
Very good.
He was very good at that. And he is, the one thing you'll say is he's a good shot stopper. He's very quick on his line as well, because he's obviously a lot younger. And the one thing I kind of go back to is, we had a lot of the same reactions when we signed Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento. These are not the positions we need to fill yet. The club are clearly making signings that aren't just for now, right? They see value. They see an investment. They see a long-term project player here. And I'm kind of okay with that, because I'm patient enough. We've had enough bad times that, we've seen it where it's like, well, in 2 years, 3 years time, the England goalkeeper could be Trafford, the England fullbacks could be Hall, and like that's not a dream. That's not unrealistic.
And Miley in the middle.
Yeah, and Miley in the middle. You know, so I'm fine with that kind of longer term investment. But like we said, there are some key positions. We talked about that in the pod before last that we need to fill. I think everyone is very aware. Right wing is probably our biggest priority signing, and I think that's where the post 1st of July money is obviously going to be looked at. But we'll come to that very shortly, lads. A couple of other names being mentioned in terms of incomings. I'm going to throw one out there to make Sean Casey smile. He has been throwing a name around, and I've heard it in one or two other places. Malik Thiaw, who is a German centre-back at AC Milan, is circulating. And I think the only thing that surprises us here, Alan, is do we still talk to AC Milan? Do we still get on? Do they still pick up the phone to each other?
I don't think AC Milan will be too happy with us, considering we whipped Tonali off them, we stole Botman off them, and now we're coming in to go after one of their players. Now, he didn't have the greatest of seasons with AC last year, is the only issue. I think he missed about 15 or 16 games through injury. But
we love an injury.
Yeah, but he's such an Eddie Howe centre half. He's like 7'9". He's built like a brick shit house. He's as quick as lightning for some reason, even though he's gigantic, and he can play with the ball at his feet. So I would be all in if we could get him, but I don't know how happy AC would be to let us have him for a decent price.
Yeah, and we have
to though, right? We have to get another centre back in. Especially with Botman's injury and the Shell's injury. So how much would he be?
You're talking 25-30 million minimum.
Yeah,
if not 40.
The only thing is Milan, probably euros, I would say. The only thing is with Milan, and we saw it with Tonali, they need money. A lot of those Italian teams are strapped for cash for various reasons, so that works in the favour. Plus, if he's had a couple of injuries, it might take a few million off. Again, it's a bit more risky because you're spending money on a player that has a little bit of an injury record. But again, you'd like to think the due diligence is there. There's no doubt on the quality of the player. I've seen him play before. I've followed, I like watching a bit of Serie A, a bit of Scudetto is always good to watch. Not like it was in the 90s, but still.
Scario.
It was glorious. Glorious back in the days.
Glorious.
So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. And then just a couple of other names that have done the rounds. There is one Dutch centre-half that we'll talk about a little bit because we're going to talk about the Euros. But there's two other players in particular I want to bring up, lads. One that popped up out of nowhere, I think it came from within Italy or France, was Matteo Guendouzi, who's the former Arsenal midfielder. Lovely long curly hair. Maybe they just want to reincarnate Fabrizio Collicini's haircut in a Newcastle kit. He is a good player. He has character and attitude. There is something there. There's a bit of bite about him, but I'm not sure.
That's not going to happen. He played for Arsenal and he was proven to not be a Premier League footballer. He looks great in Italy and France and all them places because you get 15 minutes on the ball to pick a pass and to see what you're doing. You don't get that in the Premier League. There's 3 people on you before the ball even gets to you. He's not a Premier League player. Now, look, if he comes to us, I hope I'm eating my words if he does come to us and he's absolutely world class, but I can't see that one happening really.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I read about him is that he was obviously quite young at Arsenal in the Premier League, and we've seen some players that just not necessarily a late bloomer, right? If you've played for Arsenal, you're not a late bloomer, but I think he's built out. I think his the way he works the ball, the way he looks around the game, the way his self-awareness of what's around him has changed a lot. Now, again, it's very different Premier League and other leagues, but he has been capped for France since moving to, I think it was Marseille and then Lazio.
Yeah, Marseille.
Serves me right. Yeah. So yeah, again, tenacious, strong midfielder. Not the position I feel like we need to be prioritising. We're fairly well stacked in terms of prioritisation, but an interesting one nonetheless. And then the last one, Crisho, and it was even being talked about today in the Irish Mags group, is Morgan Gibbs-White. That seems to be growing some momentum because there's been also news circulating that Forest, maybe like ourselves apparently, and Villa, are in a rush to make a player sale by the end of this June financial period thing. Is Morgan Gibbs-White, A, is it a realistic signing? B, would you be happy to see him come to Newcastle?
Morgan Gibbs-White is going to cost us, it's 40 to 60 million pounds, forget euros, right? And if we got him for 40, it would be straight up money. If we got him for 60, it might be over the course of 5 years we paid him money. But the one thing that I got from reading behind the lines in the story is that this would be a contingency if somebody had to be sold. So hypothetically, right, and I don't want to break anyone's hearts, but Bruno G had to be sold or went on for 120 million pounds. Morgan's Giveaway would be bought within the 2-3 days afterwards, like that. Boom, straight in.
Okay.
Direct replacement. Not saying he is a direct replacement, Bruno. Of course he isn't. But
Just
that
for the
would be
money,
the contingency.
yeah.
That would be the contingency there.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to go out and try and buy him though. If we still have Bruno, I'm very worried. I know we were talking. I want to just bring up real quick. Joe Willox was missing on the personalization of the shirts on the website.
Has that been fixed since? Does anyone know?
It has, yeah. It was.
He is there?
Yeah.
Right.
back on it.
Whew. I thought that maybe we were getting.
I
sale
would
here.
cash in on him tomorrow. If a bid came in for him, anything over £20 million.
The reason I said it right is that Joe Willock goes that way. Yes, Morgan Giveaway, please come in. That's I feel that would be an upgrade.
Ooh. That's not a bad shout. Jesus, that's a first. Chris with a good shout.
Come on.
It's the first time I've seen Alan. It's the first time I've ever seen Alan agree with something Chris said on the podcast.
That's not a bad shout.
Yes. It only took nearly 40 episodes. Come on.
Yeah. It's been a long few months, Chris, but you got there in the end. You've won Alan over at the very least. Fair play.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like he's a serious player. Is he? I don't know if he's the answer to playing on the right. That right hand side just concerns me more than anything. I don't know if he's the answer to that. I have a few other players that have been linked with us that I'd much rather us go in for, which we'll talk about in a bit. I just don't see him being that player. But at the same time, if he was available for 40 million, I'd be all over that. He's proven. He's unbelievable. He was great for that England under-21 team as well. I'd have no issue seeing him come in. But like I
Trafford,
said,
Gordon, Gibbs White, all from the under-21s. They all know each other. It's Eddie managing them. Delicious.
a lot of English players. This is turning into a very Brexit team, but we've done enough political talk on this show already this week.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll save it for another week. Right. Okay. We are going to see if Alan and Chris will come to blows for the bad take very shortly. But just before we move on to that section, there's a couple of names that have popped up for outgoings, lads. And I think we'll just do a bit of a... We'll kind of do a rattle through them really quickly to see, do we agree with them leaving? Would we be happy to see them go? And is it realistically going to happen? The first one on the list, Alan, here, which is growing legs, is Martin Dubravka. Celtic, apparently, seen as Joe Hart is obviously... I think he's retired, actually, completely from football, if I'm right. Yeah. They're in need of a keeper. Dubravka seems to be who they want, but the price didn't seem too high.
Seemingly we rejected a bid of 1.8 million today. That's what Twitter's saying. Look, 30 odd years of age, I would have sold him because we didn't spend that much money on him. I think it was only 4.5 million when we did sign him. So like I would have accepted whatever was being offered because any cash into the club is a good thing in my eyes. So but I don't know.
I mean, realistically, Celtic do have money because of, consistent Champions League and obviously winning the league and all that. So if they think they can get 2.5-3 million, why not? Everything, because of the length of time Dubravka's been at the club, I would expect every pound, euro that comes in for him is deemed as profit on the books as well. So,
Yeah, very much.
yeah, even for the sake of an extra 1.5 million or something like that, it probably goes a long way.
I'm sure his
Next
wages are
up-
pretty high. I'm sure his wages are pretty high.
Yeah, but again, I think they're used to paying. Celtic are used to paying fairly high wages to get players up there. No more than we have to pay high to get players up to Newcastle. Same goes for Celtic, I think. Krisho,
Yeah.
Sean Longstaff to Leicester.
So
Discuss.
Discuss. Okay, so I mean, we might just bring the bad take in now. Yeah,
Okay, do it.
because it's Longstaff related. The bad take this week. Longstaff should stay. Longstaff has been coached by Eddie Howe for 3-4 years. He's come through the academy. He's a local guy. I've said many things about him, but Longstaff going to Leicester for £15 million would be a crime. Okay, that's the bad take of the week. It'd be a crime because who are we going to get in for 15 odd million? That's up to his level and who's been coached by Eddie Howe for that length of time, who does what he's supposed to do. He's a very bland player. I wish he could shoot better and pass better, and concentrate in the game better and try harder. But, hey. So my bad take of the week is that Longstaff should stay and not be sold for £15 million to Leicester. What was kind of throw me on this slightly is that, and I can't pronounce his name because I'm not good at pronouncing names, Iheanacho.
Iheanacho.
He's going to come the other way. Now, if I offered that to you guys where Longstaff went to Leicester and Iheanacho went this way for no money,
No.
Oh no,
Alf,
God no.
no money.
No, hang on. Iheanacho's a free agent, so he's a free. Yeah, so he's a freebie. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
if Longstaff
still
went to Leicester for 15, 17 million pound, whatever we get for him, and Iheanacho was the one to come in and take a spot in the club, I'd be like, that's arguably an upgrade. Like, there's a reason he has 42 goals in the Premier League already. Iheanacho does. So like, it's not like he's not proven in the Premier League, but I just feel like
our bar is higher, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Than Iheanacho, yeah.
So I'm saying, and based off what I've looked through, with other people, the real bad take here is that Longstaff shouldn't be sold. Longstaff should get given another season or another 2 seasons.
Yeah.
To build himself up and get better. And you guys are out shaking his head at me, Paul.
I think it's the reason I think it's what makes it a bad take for me. If we weren't getting many offers for Longstaff, or if we weren't getting that much money, I think he's worth more than 15 based on the fact that he's a 36 game season Premier League player. Do you know what I mean? He's always fit, and I think he can offer a lot to a club, especially a club coming up, and they'll have the money coming up as well. The amount of money they get for getting promoted, lads, is insane. I know they've got FFP issues, but I would have no problem. Like 15, fine. I think he's probably worth 20. So it's a bad take for me that if we got 20, I would say fine. If we were getting offered 10, 12, I'd say, do you know what? We need bodies in with our injury record. Do you know, he probably brings a lot to the training pitch. He's mates with a lot of the lads. We could surely get by without having to sell him for, let's say, 10 or 12. But yeah, if you're talking 15, 20 million, I think it would be time to move on. But do I think it's going to happen? The way Eddie Howe, loyalty, I'd be surprised if it did. But it is a bad take in terms of if we can get money for him, we should be taking it.
That you both believe that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, okay. So,
yeah.
Bad take here is that Longstaff, no matter what money is offered, should stay in Newcastle United and be given a chance.
No, I wouldn't go that far, no. I think there comes a point where there's a price point and there's value to be had. Yeah. Now, again, I hate saying this about, homegrown players and what they mean for the profit and loss sheet when it comes to a player sale, but again, I think that he's reached his level. I think he's reached his ceiling. I don't think he'll get any better. That's where I am with that. And there's better options out there.
And you guys know I rarely curse, gentlemen, right? But let's move on to let's move on to the shit stick that is Ryan Fraser, who's perfectly happy to sit on the bench and get paid £3 million for the last year of his contract and not go anywhere or do anything.
Is he not? I thought I saw today.
He's gone.
As of today.
He's 100% gone.
Well, it's not confirmed, but it's all but confirmed that he's gone to Southampton. Yeah.
So it's today, free, right? He's got 1 year left in his contract, and essentially they were looking to get a fee from him. They don't want to pay a fee. He's still got a year left in his contract.
We just cancelled his contract. It's going to be the same as what Isaac Hayden does. It's going to be a termination of the contract, and whoever he wants to go to, he'll go to.
No, that's it then. So we're losing out though. Surely we're losing out.
How?
To be fair, I think we've already lost out. We've already lost money on his wages because he was on loan at Southampton and there's no way they were paying 100% of it, so we've already been paying him to not play for us. So I think there comes a point where you just kind of have to push your hands. Now if they throw in a couple of million, happy days, but it doesn't look like it. And you know what, it's just sometimes you need to sever ties.
I just wanted to announce on the podcast that he is this season's shit stick of the year. So Ryan Fraser, goodbye, adios. I really hope it's announced because that has to be an out. That's a real out. That's a proper clear out of a stink there. But I thought we'd get money for him. I honestly thought we'd get like 2-3 million quid for him. Something.
We'll see. We'll see if anything transpires. Right, I think we'll wrap up there on the outgoings. There was obviously talks of Yankuba Minta, but I think that was more of a Liverpool Twitter thing than any other type of realism.
That was
so I'm not
lazy journalism is all that was.
Yeah. I think that's just connecting a player who played with the manager and putting 2 and 2 together and getting 7. So we'll put a stick in that for now because if something happens, it'll give us something to talk about in a few weeks, but I very much doubt it. Let's move on to our spotlight, boys. As we mentioned at the top of the show, in T-3 days, football is back on the television. Competitive football is back on the television. Sadly, Ireland aren't there. And I'll tell you, lads, I've been listening to The Athletic have been doing these run-throughs of previous Euros from 1988 all the way through. And it's when you get to the ones that Ireland were in, it's some lovely nostalgia. But it also just gives you this pain that, once again, we're not there. And it's just not as much crack. Sadly, of course. But what will be there is 4 Newcastle players. We're going to see Anthony Gordon and Kieran Trippier playing for England. We've got Dubravka, still technically a Newcastle player, representing Slovakia. And can anyone tell me who the fourth one is? Drum roll. Fabian Schär.
Share, yeah. For
Switzerland.
yeah.
Yes. So those 4 chaps are going to be heading off. They're already in Germany, and it's going to be nice to see some Newcastle representation on the big stage. Because, guys, if you look back over the years, it hasn't really happened that often. And I'm going to give you a fact here to start us off, lads. You'd have to go back as far as 1992 to find a Euros where no Newcastle player was in attendance. So that's a good thing. We've always had at least one player attending the Euros. The problem is on many occasions there was only one, but we're going to do a little run through to bring us down a little bit of memory lane and look at how Newcastle have impacted the Euros and what Newcastle players have gone to the Euros down to the years. And we'll kind of chat about how they've done, see if there's any surprises that pop up. And most importantly, lads, I'm going to just do a little bit of a test with you to see how your memories are. Because, Chrisio doesn't get half enough when we do our quizzes, Alan. Yeah. We need to put him under the pressure. So, we're going to go back as far as Euro 96, because as I said, Euro 92, we didn't actually have a player there. And a big shout out, lads. One Newcastle player went to Euro 88, and he went with Ireland. And it's a man whose name has been mentioned on this podcast quite recently. And it is, of course, Mr. John Anderson. Shout out to John Anderson. He didn't really feature in that tournament, but he was in that squad. The famous squad that beat England 1-0 in Stuttgart, as we all remember. So, yeah, we're going to go back as far as Euro 1996, which I think between us all, in terms of our age, we should remember relatively well, even though Ireland weren't there.
I was 3.
The first thing we're going to say...
He's way younger than
Alan was 3 and he was still drinking cans of cider down the alley beside the bleaker. So back in Euro... Alan, I misunderstood how old you were. I'm very sorry. You're not old enough to get married then, I've decided. Back in Euro 96, lads, 3 Newcastle players went to the Euros. Do any of you want a chance of guess?
Oh, let me just go first. We need to get one. Just let me get one at least, right? Alan Shearer definitely played in Euro 96, right? Am I right?
Alan, Grisho's already got a wrong answer. Alan Shearer did play in Euro 96. He did win the Golden Boot, but at that exact moment in time, he was contracted to Blackburn Rovers. Alan Shearer was a Blackburn Rovers player at Euro 96. He joined Newcastle a month after the final of the Euro 96 was played.
Okay, he did, yeah.
Grisho,
shame.
We kind of set you up for it. No, so obviously, Alan Shearer was there, not counted as one of the Newcastle players, though. So, anyone else want to chance another guess?
Graham Basalt.
Never played for Newcastle. Hang your head in shame.
David Batty.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
David Batty was not in the Euro 1996 squad. He was in World Cup 98 because I think, didn't he miss a penalty at one point? Was it?
Yeah, he did something, yeah.
But it wasn't Euro 96. So we still have 3 players to be named, lads. What I can tell you is 2 of them played for England, or at least were part of the England squad. Mm. And one of them was with the Czech Republic.
Oh, yes.
Shout it, Alan.
Pavel Cernacek.
Pavel Cernacek is correct. He's one of the ones that went along. Krisho, any ideas on any of the other ex-Newcastle players that went with the England squad? We have a defender and a striker.
Steve Howie.
Steve Howie is correct. He went with the England squad to the Euros.
Rob Lee.
And a striker.
Oh, Les Ferdinand.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Les Ferdinand was the third one, of course, indeed. Now, lads, the topic of this spotlight was to talk about Newcastle influencing the Euros down through the years. Would you like to know how many minutes those 3 players combined played in that Euros tournament? I'll give you a clue. It's round.
Yeah.
0.
Incredibly, and I know, look, it's a bit of a joke, but I actually was shocked to see this, that none of those players, particularly Les Ferdinand, a single minute in the Euros when England went to the semi-final. Terry Venables stuck with Shearer, obviously, as we know, he won the Golden Boot, and Teddy Sheringham, of all people. So no Les Ferdinand.
Not a bad partnership, to be fair, though.
Not a bad partnership at all, in fairness. As was Shearer and Ferdinand, I mean, what transpired later. Now, the other spin-off of this conversation, lads, is, and again, as we said, Alan, you were a young man, but I remember these Euros World Cups in the 90s where a player would shine at the tournament, which is 2, 3, 4 games, depending on how far the nation went. And suddenly they're in the Premier League, right? And, Karel Poborski was one that jumps to mind, Patrick Berger. you remember the lads that went? They played really well for Senegal. They ended up at Liverpool in one of those World Cups. I think it was El Hadji Diouf and
El Hadji
Salah
Diouf,
Diao.
yeah.
And that was like peak 90s football for me.
Mm.
Now, do you think Newcastle did anything like this, signing players off the back of a successful Euros?
Euros.
We'll come to one in a minute. I know who you're going to say. I know exactly who you're going to say. We'll come to that in a second.
Is he French?
We signed.
Yeah.
He is French. We signed only one player after that Euros, Alan Shearer, for 15 million.
Yeah.
Wiped all of our cash out, and we weren't able to sign anyone. But a player you were about to mention, Chris, I'm going to let you see if you can have this one.
No,
a player we
don't.
did sign after World Cup.
Stefan Givrash.
Yeah.
Stefan Givrash. That didn't go so well either, did it?
God, no.
He was brutal.
He was the worst footballer I've ever seen playing black and white. And I'm counting Riviere and I'm counting all them lads.
Wow.
That man, we signed him off. Was it even the World Cup or was it that Confederations Cup team to do the year before? I'm not too sure.
He was in the World Cup 98 squad. He was the top scorer in the French league the year just prior to that. Didn't really play in the World Cup at all, but because he was in the squad, we went, okay, let's get on the bandwagon, and it didn't work. Did not work. Okay.
That was Dalglish. I think that was Dalglish who bought him.
You could be right, actually. You might be very right. Didn't work out. I think, did he score once? Maybe going against Liverpool? I seem to have that in my memory, but that could be a dream as well.
I can't remember, yeah.
Alan was only 6 or 7 and he was open a second can of cider at that point. Right. Let's go forward 4 years, lads. Euro 2000, which was held in Belgium and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I can tell you, one player featured in these Euros from Newcastle. Who was it? Try it again, Chris.
Mr. Alan Shearer.
Alan Shearer. I'll have to
Alan
jump
Shearer.
in there. See, he couldn't even let me have that.
He couldn't.
It's not my fault you got it wrong the first time.
Look, I got mixed up, okay? My brain gets mixed up sometimes.
That's allowed.
Sometimes. Only sometimes.
Sometimes.
The reason I brought this one up, lads, I was surprised that we'd only one player go to that particular tournament. We had a random mix of foreign players at the time. And one I actually had to sense check was, there was a player playing for us called Silvio Maric, who was playing for Croatia. He actually was in World Cup 98. And I was sure he was at that tournament. But Croatia didn't qualify. It was the last time they didn't qualify. So hence why I was surprised. But what stands out here, lads, is, again, only one player from Newcastle actually there. It was a bit of a transition time for us. I think Bobby Robson had just came in, just kind of replaced the post-Ruud Gullit era, and hadn't really had a chance to exert his kind of influence on it. So did we go and sign any players off the back of that Euros who had a successful campaign? Anyone think we did? Carl Court, Lomano Lualua, and Christian Basidas were the 3 signings we made. So maybe we were scared. Maybe we were scared after the Stefan Givrash debacle. But rather than having a bit of thinking about, well, there's some good foreign international players who were on form having a good tournament. No, we went for Carl Court. He was the highest fee we paid that year, 7 million. Okay, lads.
Wow.
Euro 2004. Held in Portugal, won by Greece, if you might remember that one. A particular highlight, particularly for the Greeks.
Oh.
We had one player, again, one player feature at this Euros.
And he was a winner, wasn't he?
He was.
He wasn't.
Oh.
It was Greek.
I thought it was Dabizas.
Don't believe so, lads.
Who
Don't
won
believe
it?
so.
Was he playing for
Portugal
us?
won it. Portugal won it.
Nikos Dabizas was a Leicester City player
Yikes.
when he won the Euros.
Jesus.
Hey.
Mm-hmm. Now, Wikipedia wouldn't lie to me, Alan.
No.
Never.
No.
Never would.
Never.
No. So it's not Nikos Dabizas.
It would
So
be.
we did have a player.
Is it Scott Parker?
It's not Scott Parker. That would be pre-Scott Parker time. I think,
Pre-Scott
2004.
Parker.
I can tell you, you're on the right nation.
Oh, okay.
It is a midfielder.
Is it Kieran Dyer?
Kieran Dyer, Alan on the mark. Kieran Dyer went to the Euros with England in 2004. A grand total of 7 minutes played.
7? I thought it would have been under 0.
He played 7 minutes in a 3-0 win over Switzerland. So, lads, as you can see, things are getting from bad to worse in terms of our impact, our influence on the Euros as a club. But things started to get a bit more interesting after that. We did make a couple of signings that were slightly connected to that Euros tournament. We signed a centre-back who was in the French Euro 2004 squad. And this may surprise you.
A boom song?
Jean-Alain Boumsong is correct.
Yeah. From Rangers.
Yeah, we signed
player.
Boomsong after that, which is an interesting one. Another player was in the midfield for England, not a starter, but did go to that Euros playing midfield for England.
Nicky Butt.
He is Nicky Butt. I didn't even need to give you the clue. It was Nicky Butt. Yeah. He also came in that summer of the Euro 2004. And finally, we did sign a Dutch striker, but not necessarily because he featured at that Euros.
Kluivert?
Patrick Kluivert came in that summer as well.
Big fat Pat.
Big fat. No, I'm going to say that's a bit harsh for Big Fat Pat in fairness. But the one thing I'll say, we're talking about we would have loved to see Newcastle, following suit of some of the other clubs and actually signing some stars from these tournaments. Kluivert was the Golden Boot winner 4 years before that. We just signed him a bit too late.
Just a bit too late.
He was top scorer in Euro 2000, but 4 years later, we decided it'd be a good idea to bring him in.
Do you know we should look at his son? His son's a good player.
Justin?
No, he's not.
He's all right. I mean, he's not.
He's been around.
Player. I never said brilliant player.
He's good on FIFA.
He's good on FIFA.
Interesting fact about him. I think he's the only player that has played and scored in all the top 5 European leagues. I think I heard that as a trivia question. So there you go. Krisho, hang on to that one now. You might need that someday.
I got it.
Now, lads, there's a reason why I've been going through this and bringing you the pain and the anguish of what it was like when we only had one player. Things got a little bit better. In Euro 2008, we had 2 players who travelled to the Euros, and none of them were in the England squad. So I can tell you one of those players was in the Czech Republic squad. A defender.
Oh, the centre half, David Rosenhall.
David Rosenhall is correct. Played all 3 group games, but then the Czechs crashed out. Thanks, David. And then we also had another player who represented Turkey in 2008.
Emre Belözoğlu.
Can we have that surname pronunciation again, please, Alan?
Emre Belözoğlu.
Belözoğlu is correct. He was the captain of Turkey that year. And this is an interesting one. He actually got injured in the first group game and he missed the rest of the tournament. I do have relatively fond memories of him playing for Newcastle.
Yeah, he's good.
He was quite good, though.
I did, but then he sullied his paper with how he acted after leaving. He's a lunatic.
That's also very true.
He's not a nice person, unfortunately.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
Now, lads, this is where things get better. Euro 2012, we had 3 players turning up. 3 whole players, lads. Can you imagine? The first time since 1996. We had 2 players playing for France. This was our French Revolution time, if you remember. Can anyone recall on two French players?
Cabaye.
Cabaye is correct.
Debussy.
Debussy is not correct.
Oh, it's Sissoko, sorry.
Also incorrect.
Oh, you didn't sign till after that revolution.
Ben Arfa?
Yes.
Hatem Ben Arfa. Krisho Aiden at the back post. It is Hatem Ben Arfa.
Very, very good.
Both of them, to be fair, both of them did get minutes in that competition. Cabaye actually did score against Ukraine, I think, at one point. I have that in my notes. And the last player represented the Netherlands.
It's not Genie.
Is it Tim Krul?
This quiz is suiting Krisho. This has turned into the quiz pretty much now.
Shout.
Tim Krul is correct. Sadly, a grand total of 0 minutes as the Netherlands finished bottom of their group. But we do know he went on to make some famous penalty saves.
Oh, yeah.
Now, seeing as you mentioned him, lads, we did finally react to a Euros and sign a player who featured at that Euros. And Alan, you've already said his name. Matthew Debussy came in
Debussy
just
from
after that.
Yeah.
Did he go to Arsenal after us or was he at Arsenal before us?
After.
We sold him.
He went after, yeah.
All right, yeah. He was good. He was a good right back.
He was decent, yeah. Now, I can tell you that in Euro 2016, Alan Moussa Sissoko did feature for Newcastle. He was the only one from Newcastle that actually featured in that tournament. Surprisingly, over both those, 2012 and 2016, despite Ireland qualifying for both, we had no Newcastle players in attendance. There was the likes of, I I think Given was there for one of them, and Damien Duff, Jeff Hendrick, but didn't play for Newcastle at the time.
Thank God.
Now we're to wrap things up, lads. The most recent Euros that was completed, Euro 2020. We're going to finish on a high here, lads. 4 Newcastle players featured in Euro 2020. Now, I've been impressed with your memory so far, but with the most recent one, I'm not as convinced you're going to get them as quick. I can tell you, we have a defender who featured for Switzerland.
Fabian.
Fabi.
Scher is correct. Next up, a goalkeeper who went to the Euros.
Tim? No,
2020.
2020.
Oh, Dubravka.
Martin Dubravka is correct. Featured for Slovakia. Actually started all 3 of their group games and probably will again this time around.
Mm-hmm.
We then had another defender, a right back, and also a right winger, I suppose he is. And he's also been mentioned on this show today.
Oh, it's shit stick of the year.
Yeah, shit stick of the year.
Ryan Fraser.
Yes.
Ryan
Scotland.
Fraser went with Scotland. That is correct. Krisha, you're on fire today. And lastly, we had a right back.
Right back. Nationality?
If I say it, you'll get it. He's
Is
still
it-
at the club
oh,
today.
Oh, he's still at the club.
Trips wasn't with us.
Trips was signed after this Euros in a
Yeah.
timing sense.
Still at the club, went to the Euros.
Right back.
Right back.
I would say he's a right back by trade.
Does he have
For sure.
curly back hair?
Couldn't be further from it.
Uh,
Who are you going for?
I was going for Dow Yanmat.
Sure, I said he's still this player's still with Newcastle though.
I was still at the club. Oh,
Oh, this is really annoying.
2022. Oh wow!
I'm shocked. I'm shocked at this, lads.
He's
Now,
saying
unless the fact that this player has been playing at centre half a little bit more regularly in the last few months, that's throwing you off. But he's a right back by trade.
It's Emil Kraft.
Of course, it's Emil Kraft. Kraft, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, lads.
Oh, man.
Emil Kraft went with Sweden, of course. And yeah, he got some minutes, to be fair. And yeah, Trippier was the only one who really signed after that Euro. So at least that brings us back, lads, to where we are now. We have 4 players, as mentioned, featuring again. What that helps you do, if you look at it in isolation, lads, we started off in those early 90s. We had 3 players going to Euro 96. I think we said it was, a couple more here and there. Then it was 1. We're back in a place now where we back-to-back tournaments, more international players at Newcastle actually going to tournaments. And to be fair, the only other topic I was going to add to this, lads, we mentioned Gordon, Trippier, Scher and Dubravka are travelling. Probably a few lads that might count themselves unlucky not to go. And in particular, I would say Tonali would definitely have been going to Italy if he was allowed to even take to the field. Would you say there's anyone that's unlucky, Alan, to not make any of those Euro squads?
Yeah, Tino Livramento was my shout. I thought that England would have brought him for his versatility because Luke Shaw is literally a hamstring injury away from having to retire. And Livramento does what Trippier does. He can play right or left back. So he would have given cover either side if, God forbid, something did happen. So he can count himself very unlucky.
Yeah, that's fair, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, Sean Longstaff. No, we won't go there. I'd like to think Callum Wilson could have made it if he was a bit more fit throughout the year. When you look at they brought Tony, who didn't have a whole lot of game time, so and they obviously weren't impressed by Solanke. And Nick Pope would be the other one, I think, for me as well. I think he definitely should be there.
No, Nick Pope should be there.
Even though even if he's just sitting on the bench, right, lads. I think that will probably suffice as the quiz. I think Chris, you have a special quiz for us for the Euros. I think we'll do that next week when we're in the middle.
I have it here. I think it's gonna fit right in with the Euros and just so everybody's clear here on the podcast and listens to us and so on. I'm gonna kind of maybe give it to Al and Paul to be competing against each other for a little while. So I'll do the quizzes as the quiz master guy because it's really starting to kind of, I'm down for 2-3 days after. Do you know what I mean? It's like watching Ireland play.
I can tell you, Alan.
It gets you down.
He's shit sticking his pants here at the thought of having to take me on the quiz.
My timbers are shivered.
And just so we're live on the podcast, Al, can you give us an update to the Ireland-Portugal score?
You really don't want to know. We're getting hockey 3-0.
jeez.
Should be 33-0. They're absolutely battering us.
Typical. I mean, I don't know what we would expect. Like, if you look at it on paper, Portugal arguably have the strongest squad in that tournament, lads. Their midfield is so stacked, it's a joke. It's embarrassing how good it is.
Well, just real quick, why don't we pick the team then? Ready? Okay, Paul, who's going to win the Euros? Real quick. No, not to justify it. Just pick a team.
Germany.
Oh, Germany or France? I'm going to go France for the sake of difference.
Okay, I'm going to go with Scotland.
Yeah.
Now, bear with me on this, guys.
No.
Bear with me on this one. I'm telling you, they'll get out of the group. I'm telling you now. You watch Scotland go.
Yeah, they'll probably get out of the group, but that's as far as they're going. Like,
right? Okay, fair enough.
He's John McGinn and all that jazz.
Chris Shaw, I'm going to throw an intervention in here.
Yeah.
This is episode 28, week 28. Right, that's 7 months of podcasting. You had just won Alan around with one of the takes you had, and now you've completely thrown it all away again by saying Scotland are going to win the Euros. Shambles. Before we wrap up, lads, there's one other thing. Seeing it as it is Euros time and we're recording before the first game is played, we talked a lot about transfer rumours that were happening. There are other names, obviously, in circulation out in the rumour mill, but I think there's going to be quite a few players at this Euros that we will, if we aren't already connected and rumoured to be looking at them, I think we should be. So there's a few names that obviously that are well known. I've written a few of them down here that were on the screen as we look at it, but I might just throw it out there, lads. One or two players maybe on your mind that you think the Irish Mags listeners should be keeping an eye on in this Euros, namely because Newcastle either could be in with a shout of signing them or should be. Alan, I'm going to come to you first.
Oh, I'm going to go.
So I'll give you two.
Yeah.
I'll give you one that you think is a realistic that we might be possibly connected to, and one you'd love to see that the listeners should be watching out for.
Realistically, that I hate pronouncing this guy's name because it's a Belgian name. It's Tiate or
Tiate, defender Arthur Tiate.
Good player. Yes. The other one is also another Belgian who I think we might be involved again, but we won't be able to sign because he just signed for Atletico Madrid. Vermeeren. What a player.
He is brilliant. Centre midfielder. Yeah.
What a player.
The question would be, I think, will he get minutes in that tournament? Because Belgium also have quite a strong midfield. But another target, another rumoured target for Newcastle that might take his place would be Andre Onana, even though I think Vermeeren is a far superior player. But they are different. Krisha, what about you? Any names that you've kind of picked up on in terms of the rumour mills or players you'd love to see us sign and we should be keeping an eye on in the Euros?
I know that I was saying it before about us getting Tonali when everyone else was pointing at somebody else, but everyone should keep an eye on Nico Barella playing for Italy in the Euros. Oh, yeah. Now, if we could get anywhere near sniff near him, which we probably would not, but this is dream city. This signing, and he's going to fit. Well, you see the way he plays within that Italy team. He is beautiful footballer. I'd love to have him in Newcastle. I don't know how much he probably cost us, about I don't know,
100 million
euros or something.
He's 100 million quid now.
It's tough now because Inter Milan obviously won that Champions League and won the Serie A and are now in the Champions League. And as we know, we don't have Europe, sadly. So might be barking up the wrong tree there. What about Jared Bowen, Chris Shaw? That's a name that's been circulating. West Ham, manager situation is changing. He's a player we've been connected to. I think we were actually linked with him in the past.
We missed the boat. Paul, we missed the boat. We should have got him when West Ham got him. If we would have got him at that point, we would have some player on our hands now. But we missed the boat. And it's fair play to him. He's done really well at West Ham. He can stay where he is. I'm not paying £50 million for a 27-year-old or 28-year-old.
He's also going out with Danny Dyer. Like, not the geezer Danny Dyer, his daughter Danny Dyer, but like if he leaves West Ham, he will be murdered in his sleep, so it's not happening. So
okay. I'd love it though, but he's maybe 2 years ago. 2 years ago, maybe.
Fair, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, look, that right hand side, there's a few players that have been genuinely connected to Newcastle in the last few weeks and months, but there's one or two that I can see are included in squads. I think I mentioned him on the pod before with Johan Bakayoko, the Belgian fella as well. Another
Yeah.
Belgian, plays for PSV, had an unbelievable season. I think he scored 14 goals and got 14 assists. So I'd be all over him for that right hand side. And he's well obtainable, I would say, playing for PSV. There was a centre back. I don't know, was it actually, did Casey may even tweet about this fella? It's Gertruida. His
Yeah.
name was thrown out there in the last week or so. He's at Alan's a Feyenoord, maybe.
Yeah,
Or PSV
Feyenoord.
as
Sorry, no, is it?
Okay.
It's Feyenoord. I think you're right with Feyenoord, but he's a right
one of them.
back / centre half, so he would be exactly what Eddie Howe wants: a gigantic wardrobe that can run 70 mile an hour. So it's exactly what we need, if you know what I
But
mean.
these are big. Are these big money signings from Holland or not? Like
Not
20, 30
necessarily.
million euro?
Yeah, it wouldn't be as high. You'd be looking at 30, like for someone like Bakayoko, you'd expect maybe 40 million because his stats are behind it. Like he's literally has 14 goals, 14 assists off the right hand side. And again, if he goes to this Euros, he's in a good team. He doesn't have a huge amount of competition on that right hand side. Probably Trossard because of Doku on the other side, maybe. I kind of don't want him to have a good Euros because he'll go up 10 million or 20 million. That's what happens. So we don't want another, but we don't want him to have to go and get a cheaper option and bring in another Stefan Givarch.
Yeah.
And the last kind of wild one, lads, because we were chatting about Italy, this Fede Chiesa thing is going around, Alan. And I know you know enough about this player.
Yeah, he's been offered to every single club in Europe because Juve are doing their darndest to get rid of him for some reason. He is the least defensive footballer you'll ever look at in your whole life. He is not an Eddie Howe player. He will not pass the dickhead test. He will not track back when he's asked it. He will not be coming to Newcastle United.
All right, just before we end, and again, Paul, just really quickly again, right? Who do we realistically believe is going to be the right wing of Newcastle United next season? Like realistically, after all the summer's gone,
none of us know because whoever it is, it's not in the media because that's how we're running. Yeah, that's how it's going at the minute.
I think Paul's got a good shout because I've never heard that guy's name mentioned at all.
Bakayoko.
Bakayoko in anything. Now let's not jinx it, of course, but it'll be somewhere around there. They've obviously got their plans laid out for the next 5 or so years with players as backups and so on. But I'm just kind of thinking, it seemed to me that Almiron is the one that is looking to be shipped out, whether to the MLS, Ipswich. He's not going to Saudi, I don't believe. But he's definitely going to be shipped out. So and Fraser's gone. Not that he was ever going to play again.
You're down to Jacob Murphy, really.
So you're down to Jacob Murphy.
Side. Yeah.
So
it's a priority position. So I'd love to see it. There is actually, if you look it up, there's an interview or a quote he said where he's literally said like, "I want to win the Ballon d'Or." Like that's he believes he's that good. I mean, I don't know about dickhead tests, Krisho. I don't know if you and me ever passed Alan's dickhead test, but
yeah, we did.
Lads, Saint Max said he wanted to win a Ballon d'Or. just to put a pin in that, like.
And Alan, I'll see that and raise you with. Look what's happened to the lads who are leaving Newcastle and going on to bigger and better things.
True, yeah.
Maxi for Ballon d'Or isn't a terrible take. Right. Well, I think, lads, on that slightly horrific note, we can bring episode 28 of the Irish Mag Show to a close. Lads, thank you very much. That was a fun trip down memory lane.
It sure
depressing moments. It's just good to see how far we've come as a club. Hopefully when the next World Cup comes around, we've got 10 players going to it, even though they'll probably all get injured. But that's for another day. As usual, listeners, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash it all the way. Drop us a 5-star rating if you're listening on Apple or on Spotify. Hit that follow button as well, of course. And yeah, we'll be back for some more Irish Madness next week. The Euros will have kicked off. We'll be talking transfers. We'll be talking players. And let's see what kind of takes Krisho can unearth and see how badly Scotland have lost in their opening group game against Germany.
Put your money on Scotland, fellas. Put your money on Scotland.
Oh, dear. We'll be back next week. Thank you all for listening. How are the lads? Slán go fóill, and we'll see you all very soon. Take care.
Slán all you fellas. Slán.